Welcome to the 80th episode of the Bobby Kudo Show. I have a very special guest, Rene. I'm going to have you pronounce your last name only because I was going to ask you this beforehand, but I figure what a great way to open the show. Rene, how do you pronounce your last name?
Well, so I always used to say Dionne, but really it's Dionne. I don't know why I never liked Dionne, but anyways, how I found out was because my dad started telling me, I was like, oh, how do we say it? And he's like, Dionne.
Yeah.
We have a little family history. The Dionne quintuplets were the first surviving quintuplets in Canada. There's
Really?
actually a movie on it. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so my ancestors. So that's how I know.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
So there's obviously a French influence there, is there?
Yeah, so I'm
All right.
French-Canadian.
Okay,
for sure,
all right,
on
all
my
right.
dad's side, yeah.
So originally, where are they from?
Canada, Quebec.
So Quebec. Did they
Yeah.
come from? Are you of Portuguese descent?
Don't ask
or,
me any
just
deeper.
curious, because obviously, like my family made it to the United States because
Yeah.
they migrated from the Azores. So you almost wonder, like, so your family originated from Canada and then migrated into like this area to Fall River?
Yeah, so like probably like my great-great-great-grandfather
Yeah.
was like a lumberjack, and my dad said, and moved.
And so
I don't know.
what brought your parents here? Do you know?
Oh, my parents grew up here.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This
So
is
what brought their grandparents here?
Oh,
So
I don't
You've been
know.
here for generations then.
Yeah, this is going back
No kidding.
generations.
No
yeah.
kidding.
So not funny, but the story behind the Dionne quintuplets, they were first surviving. And the reason why there's a movie on them is because they kept them in captivity, the state of Canada. Yeah. And people would pay money to go watch.
Come on.
Yep, there's a movie on it. And people will go watch them. And they were like under a doctor.
That was like the carnival days, right? Where they do like the traveling carnivals, and it was Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus and that stuff. Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
What a cool like heritage, right? Like what a.
It's crazy.
It's neat. It's pretty neat. Like especially when you learn those things. You know what I mean? And so here you are. You know, brothers and sisters.
Yep, I have a sister and a brother.
A sister, older, younger.
I'm the oldest.
So you're the example. Right? That's
Oh, yeah.
You know, because a lot of times that's what happens is you become the example. You know, I have an older brother. Happy birthday, Lou. I'd be remiss if I did. Yeah, it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Lou.
So happy birthday to him. He's bright. 56, young man. So shout out, Louie. And he was always that example for me, you know, and he kind of went on and did his thing and started doing businesses. And we've always been in music. Like music's been a part of our life always. Yeah. But this, behind the microphone, podcasting, it was something that was just a childhood dream of mine, you know. And we met 2020. Was that like 2020, 2019, 2020, maybe a little later?
Goodness. No, a little later than that.
20,
I had
it was like
started
COVID. It was COVID.
Yes.
It was COVID. So like 2021 or 22, like right around that maybe?
Yeah, right around there, sure.
Yeah. And so even that whole time going through that whole situation with COVID, I was going through some huge changes in my life.
Yeah.
And not only was I going through some huge changes, but some struggles as well. Like we were trying to sell some property and things weren't working out. And it's just important that I get this out because there's so many things I want to say to you, and I know we have limited time. And we had some setups and things didn't work out. And then you came recommended, a friend of a friend. And I have to tell you that this is not because you're sitting here. This is not because you're on my podcast. But I will say that in my life, I've never met someone as tenacious as you. You are driven. Even when I was going through the process of the sale of my house, there's a lot of energies there and forces that make you not want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew I had to sell my house. I didn't want to sell my house, right? So what motivates you? What drives you? Procrastination starts. And I'm not a procrastinator.
Yeah.
And I was procrastinating. Without your constant, hey, I am telling you right now, that was what drove me. That honestly, no joke. Like it was really motivating to me because I kept saying to myself, Bobby, she's motivated. You got to be motivated. Like you have to step up. You have to, because again, there's so many other things going on in your life at that time. Where the last thing I want to do is deal with the inevitable. You know what I mean? Like the end of an era.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that, and I don't know if anybody's ever said that to you, but I think that as an attribute for success, I think that's probably one of the most important attributes that someone can have because to me, procrastination is the failure of all success.
Listen, we all do it. I procrastinate too. I know maybe you don't believe it, but I definitely do. You know, I think when you're dealt with adversity, you tend to like not it's like easier to just walk away or forget about it or put it to the side, So it's helpful to have somebody around just reminding you why you're doing this and that these are the things you need to do.
Well, so what reminds you? Like, what drives you that way? Is it your own personal determination? Are you proving something? What is that? What is that force that drives you?
I really don't know, to be quite honest. I really don't know. My son was always my motivator because I always wanted to do well for him. I always wanted to make sure he was good, So and you have kids, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So it's like one of those things that you just like, you have no choice, know? I was a single mom at 19, you know? So you have no choice but you got to get up every day, go to work. I went to school. I got my associates. I did it slowly, but I did it. And then I went and got back and got my bachelor's.
So let's take a step back. 19.
Yes.
You're pregnant.
Yeah.
You're looking at life going, okay, I have choices here.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? How many people choose different, right?
Yeah.
You determined that you were going to make this work.
Oh, you have to.
Happy National Women's Day.
Thank you.
Like you're the epitome of that. To say, I'm going to give this child the best life this child can have.
Yeah.
And not only raise them to that point, but also be an example into their adult life, because you are an example.
Thank you.
And I was raised by a single mom, so there's a special place in my heart. I appreciate it. I also understand that women are the most important creatures that roam this planet.
That's right.
Without women,
hope you men hear this.
Men don't. No, I'm telling you, men don't exist. Like I understand that we have roles. There are very important roles that we play in this world, but ultimately, without the woman form here, we don't exist. So I appreciate that. So your boy, can we talk about him for a minute?
Sure.
All right.
Of
So how
course.
old?
He's 26.
26 years old.
Yep.
So 26, does that make you a grandma?
I am a grandmother.
That's so good. I already knew the answer. I was just playing dumb. I see you on Facebook all the time. He seems so motivated. Like he's all over the place. Tell me about him. Yes, tell me about him. Tell me about him.
Oh, my God, my grandson. Yeah, he's 2.5. He is fearless. That kid will do anything. My son is a snowboarder. He goes with him, and now he has a snowboard. He'll just do anything. The kid is like...
Yeah.
I love spending time with him because he's just so much fun. He's like good. He reminds me a lot, honestly, of my son when he was little. That's how my son was. My son was fearless, always doing something with his dad. Just want to clear that up. His dad was very involved in his life. Sure. Even though we weren't together.
Right.
But yeah, no, he was, there. He reminds me a lot of him. So it's so nice to have a little piece of your child and then send them back.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Not have to be responsible for
I have a
them
granddaughter.
every
She's
day.
7. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like you get to pull the batteries out. There you go. See you later. Have a nice day.
Right.
Have a nice day.
But and I'm super proud of my son. He just he's a plumber, licensed plumber in Massachusetts, and he just quit his job and started his own business.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
What's the business? Do we know the business?
He's a plumber.
The name of the business. How do they reach out to him?
He's just getting started. He does have a name, but I don't know if that's what he wants to stick with, so I don't want to put it out there. But his name's Darian Oliveira.
Okay, all right.
And his dad's helping him. I'm helping him, you know.
Well, that's awesome.
Everyone needs a plumber,
Of course, absolutely.
And he's a hard worker, that kid. He was working full time and doing jobs after.
Where did he learn that? Like, where did he learn those great
to BP.
attributes? No, he learned it from you.
Like he went to BP.
He learned it from you. You watch. You know what I mean? You watch, and I have a work ethic.
Too,
Yeah, exactly. And again, yes, both. I mean, he watches. It's the example. I say this all the time on the show that we raise copies.
Yeah.
People don't want to admit it. That's an argument you'll have with people all the time because not everybody's kids turn out the way they want them to turn out. But the truth of the matter is, they are showing you the things that you might be or didn't expose to them, and they fill in the blanks themselves, and they do these things the way they're going to do. I think of my daughter and how successful she is with her life, and her daughter and her life, and it's just you look at those things and say to yourself, they could always go in either direction.
Yeah.
But I think we are evolving as a populace. Back in the day when we were kids in high school, it would be common for someone to just get on the system and that's it. You know what I mean? Like that would be the end of it.
Right.
But I think there was a shift. I think people realized that just because this is happening and women being empowered and having the ability to make as much money as men and be out in the business and professional realm to say, hey, I can compete with this and I can raise my own family. Again, you had support from your child's dad, but nonetheless, you had to be motivated, right? You could have easily sat home and just collected a check, but you didn't. Like those are personal motivations. And I think that I feel that those are evolutionary traits. I think
Yeah.
we're becoming better as humans. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just an amazing thing. I want to talk about a couple more things.
Yeah,
I hope
sure.
I'm not rushing too fast.
No, you're good.
But you were a fitness model at some point. Were you a fitness model?
No, I never was a fitness
No.
model.
Okay. You should have been. Like,
thank
I
you.
mean, amazing.
No.
So going through all that, I was looking at Miss Bristol County.
All right, so there's a whole
All right.
story.
Okay, let's
behind-
do this. Great. Perfect. I got my coffee. Go, girl. You go.
So I never wanted to be a pageant queen ever in my life. Some women do, but I honestly, you know why? I never thought I was pretty enough. That's why. So when I started real estate, I wanted to make a difference. So I started doing blood drives. There's a whole story behind that. I don't know if we have enough time for all these stories.
Listen, you got as much time as you want. It's up to you.
So I don't know if during the pandemic, Charlie Baker got on the news and said that there was a shortage of blood. And my mom always donated blood. So I went, and this is going to tie into the whole pageant thing. I went and donated blood one day. And I guess mine's O negative, so it's like universal.
Me too.
Yeah.
No joke.
So they're like hit you up all the time, right?
Yeah. Well, I get the card in the mail all the time. It's been a minute. Yeah. Yes.
You're due.
You do.
You can get a gift card or whatever.
Right.
So anyways, my mom was religious. She would sometimes pass out too, mind you. It wasn't easy for her sometimes. So she got queasy, So I went back and donated again. I said, isn't there something more I can do? Like, my little blood isn't going to do much,
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you can host blood drives. I'm like, they're doing blood drives? And she's like, yeah. She's just like, these, I'll connect you with somebody because it has to be social distancing. There has to be certain guidelines.
Sure.
She gave me the connect. I set it up. I worked with Keller Williams, and we started at YMCA in Fall River. Then we went to the.
That's amazing. And this was like COVID, right? Was
Yeah,
it right?
yeah.
This is like, so there's no blood, right? There's no blood. There was a shortage. People were
a shortage, yeah.
Yeah, it was a huge shortage. I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Then I did it at Grace Bible Church, and that I met Samantha. I'm gonna have to send her this podcast,
Please do.
but she owns the church.
Okay.
So that's how I got the church to sell. So anyway, she was. We just became good friends. She was very grateful that I was doing the blood drives there and hosting them and stuff. And I used to do them at Dartmouth Council Agent too. But anyways, yeah, so she had hit me up one day, and I know she did pageants, and she was like, you should do a pageant. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm too old, And she's like, no, this is for women our age,
Yep,
really,
yep.
at the end of the day. So I was like, I started toying with the idea. She's like, come over to my house. So I came over to her house. She had literally a room with just dresses, shoes.
No kidding.
It was like a girl's dream. I was like,
Wow.
I was like, maybe. And she just got me going. She gave me that little oomph of confidence, and that's what happened.
Wow. And you are a beast. I see you, like, you work out. You don't just work out. You're like cross fitness. You're ripping rocks off of mountains. I watch what you do. And I say to myself, wow, if that's not motivating and you don't stop, you just.
It's funny. I was just talking about this with my boyfriend the other day. Like, I've throughout my whole life from 19, I've taken care of my son. I went to school. I was working. And it's still, my son's now moved out. My dog passed over the spring.
Oh, sorry.
And I feel like I have nothing. I'm like, I feel a little lost in life right now,
Yeah.
And because I have so much going on. I like the gym, work, school, my son, and I had so much, and now it's all dwindling away. And I'm like, you try to find like some sort of purpose,
Right. Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, I loved CrossFit. I did that for a few years.
Yeah.
Before that, I was like big into running, so I was very skinny.
Yeah.
Then I started wanting muscles, so I started CrossFit, and I was addicted to that. I love that. Then I was starting to get a little injuries, so then I dialed back from that. Now I'm at Raw and Taunton, where we just do focus on muscle groups, and I do my cardio off to the side.
So leads me to my next question. Personal trainer?
So yeah, I just got certified.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing. So if someone wanted your services, how would they go about that?
Oh, they can just call me,
Yeah.
774.
How does it work?
406-8922.
Perfect.
My phone number's all over the place because I'm a realtor.
Yeah,
so.
right. So how does that work? So if I wanted to have you be my personal trainer, how does that work scheduling wise? Is it whenever do I see you every day? Do I see you once a week? How does that? I've never had a personal trainer, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, so
Probably
you know
need
what?
one.
I can accommodate most people. I haven't really figured out what I'm going to do with this. I've talked about it with the gym owner that I'm at now. She's the one that pushed me to do it. She's like, you've been wanting this, just do it. Get it. Go get it. I'm like, all right. Yeah. There's just so many things that I've done with my life that I'm just like, oh, another thing, you know?
Right.
But, yeah, no, I've been thinking about it. Like, I can accommodate somebody and just be like, hey, do this 3 times a week, or, do this 5 times a week. Some days cardio, some days lifting, or you can do them both. Yeah. Or I can meet them at the gym and show them if they're really new to the, workout world, fitness or whatever.
Because people can get hurt. Like that's just, I mean, and I say this only, even myself, like I go to Planet Fitness. So if the machine doesn't do the actual exercise for me, I don't know that I have the best form. Like, and I think that comes with experience, right? The more you do it, even with like dumbbells, like you see people do that, and obviously the point is, the points, holding the points. Like if I'm slapping and I'm sloppy arm, it's pointless, right? You go home tired for no reason. And I think that's where it's important. And it's funny that you're a personal. I was saying the other day, I'm like, wow, I should really consider like a personal trainer because I'm looking.
Do it, Bobby.
It's funny. I'm looking for accountability. That's because I need accountability. And even if it was you calling me saying, hey, man, you got to go. You got to do this today. Today's the day. I need some of that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So what really pushed me over the edge to the personal training was I hired a nutritionist before I went to France. Okay. Because I wanted to be fit. I was getting my real estate pictures there, and I just wanted to look my best. Yep. So I hired Cam Goldstone, and he was doing a competition. So I was like, and we started in like February, and by like April, he's like, why don't you do a show? He's like, because you're so dedicated. He's like, you're like one of my best clients. He's like, you are the person. I
totally get that. You're all in. You're all in.
Yeah.
You're all in.
Listen, but he made me accountable. I had to weigh in every week. I never like met up with him. He would just send me my macros. I chose what to eat because I kind of already knew too. At the end of the day, I kind of already knew. Yeah. I just needed somebody to make me accountable, tell me, adjust my calories, carbs, and my macros and my calories, to how my weigh-in was going, So that's what really, I was like, wow, I never thought my body could change. I thought I was like, I looked okay, I wasn't like, oh, I'm like the best. But as I was like weeding out all that bad food, I was like, wow. I was like leaning up, and I was like, that's pretty freaking amazing that he just did that by like sending me
the diet, right? Just doing that diet
and adjusting, and obviously me being committed to it. You have to be committed. You can't lie to yourself. Right. You can't be like, oh, it's not working. Right. And
most people don't cancel a gym membership, not because they want to go to the gym. It's because they don't want to commit to the fact that they're not going to the gym.
Right.
And once you cancel that, you've made that commitment that you've failed yourself.
It's funny. My to get my bachelor's degree, I had to do a paper, and I did a paper on Workout Worlds in their business model. And their business model is make it cheap enough so people spend money, but they forget. Because if everyone signed up, if everyone went to Workout World that signed up, or Planet Fitness, or any of those, they wouldn't be able to hold them all, you know?
Right.
So their business model is make it just enough cheap enough people forget, or don't go, or don't
care.
Scam.
I'm part of the scam.
Me too. I actually have one.
So would it be fair to say, I see patterns, right? And would it be fair to say that most of your opportunities came from your decision to give back to your community? Like where you have an opportunity to meet these people, and like, so you go to the church, right, to donate blood. You meet, you're right. And now she's like, hey, you should. Now you're selling the property, right? I mean, that place sold for a couple million.
It didn't sell.
Oh, it didn't?
Yeah.
All right.
We had
okay.
An issue.
Yeah.
We had an issue with the title.
Oh, all right.
So
all right.
they're
all right.
fixing that, and then in the midst of them fixing it, it was under contract.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm like, finally, she's got it.
The buyer decided they didn't want to wait.
Yeah.
And then now they want to keep it now. For now.
Well, if they want to keep it, that's
fine. She's like,
fine.
for now, we just, but in the meantime, they're just fixing the title.
So do you feel like your ability to communicate and be with people in that community environment supports your goals and moving forward to say, hey, I made some real great connections in this environment. Everybody's giving, it's that community kind of sense. Do you find that?
It just feels good, to give back for sure, but I think networking is always important no matter what you do in life. I tell my son all the time, network, talk to people. Yep. Every house you go into, leave a card. They'll put it on their fridge. If anyone needs a plumber, they're going to, it's like little things like that. Just getting out there.
Nobody needs a plumber until you need one.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you,
Right.
hey, call up your buddy, you know, call up your brother Lou. Oh, yeah, I got Darian on my fridge.
Right. Which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you start, like the word of mouth.
Yes.
I was wondering, do you see yourself doing like real estate exclusively, or it's for Rene, it's whatever, like you're on this journey, this amazing journey.
It's kind of crazy. I'm so used to doing a million things, but I'm learning. So at one point I had a podcast. I was doing real estate. I was working where I work now.
Yeah.
I work for Long Home Products.
Full time.
Yes, full time. Yeah. My grandson was just born. There was just so much going on.
Yeah.
And I felt so overwhelmed, and I had to take a step back. I had an opportunity at Long Home Products to move up in the company. And so I chose that. I focused on that, you know, not that I'm not giving up on anything else,
Right,
you know, but running a podcast is very difficult. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it in the future, but if I did, I would get a content creator. It's, creating the content is the hardest part. This is the easiest.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely. This is a
the
great
most fun.
conversation. This is amazing. This is what I love to do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the
absolutely.
most fun part about it, but
Yes.
like creating that content.
People don't see the hours in the back of just
Yeah.
watching, sound waves and
And I just didn't have the time. I worked full time. I was doing real estate after work and on the weekends, and then I'm trying to create content with my girls and try to see my grandson. It was just so much.
So that was EntrepreneurHer
Entrepreneur Energy, yes.
Energy, but the
Yeah.
her capitalizing the her, which I thought was ingenious, you know what I mean, in the branding. And you guys did that for how long?
Oh gosh, I started it actually with Pam, who
Okay.
was a city council, the president of the city council of Fall River at the time.
All right.
And then it was actually at Eric B. Media. This is like a crazy story too.
Great. I love it. Go ahead.
So basically,
we're here to tell stories.
These girls, it was called the Bad Bitches of Real Estate.
All right. I see that. It's you, it's Debbie, and
No. That was before
that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it was owned by somebody else,
Yeah.
and it was called Bad Bitches of Real Estate.
That's
and
funny.
they had invited me on because I was a new agent, and I had like come out of nowhere.
Okay.
And here I am, Renee, just selling houses.
Top
I'm like,
selling.
who's this
You were
girl?
like a top selling agent, weren't you? Like Remax top selling agent?
No, I was at Keller Williams at the time.
Okay,
But
all right.
I
Top seller.
Well, I did very well.
course you
I
did.
wasn't the top
course you
seller,
did.
but I did really good,
Yeah, yeah.
because I knew how to market myself, you know. So I went on and we did that, and then I did the whole. I did the pageant then too, and I think they had me back on for that. But anyways, they eventually just asked me to join, and then they were kind of fading out, and they're like, "Here, do whatever you may." And Pam had asked me, "Hey, let's do our own podcast." So I was going to do two, and then I was like, let's just do this one. So, and then we moved the studio over to Mike Sylvia's at Fall River Reporter.
And so he was producing the show for you?
He was doing what your little friend over there is doing.
Okay. Production. Joe's doing.
production.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for being here today, brother.
Yeah, thank you. So he would do that. I mean, he would give us ideas and stuff, but we had to create the content, you know.
I got you. So you were still doing all the legwork on the other side. So he'd give you the file. Here you go. It's yours. And then you would have to edit it, or was it already edited
no,
ready to go?
he did the editing
All of
and
it.
all that.
Oh, wow. That's huge. That's a big deal. That's the worst part. It's the worst
I wouldn't
part.
even know what to do.
Right. It's the worst part.
That's not my forte, you know. I can admit when I'm not, I don't know what I'm doing on some things, you know.
Yeah. And you guys did that for how long?
Oh, gosh. Over a year, I know
No
that.
kidding.
Maybe 2 years.
And what was that more like, just real estate
Definitely
conversation?
over maybe a year and a half with them, and then probably 2.5 years total.
So you went was that like a real estate conversation? Was that what that was?
No, it actually was about women,
Bad bitches.
empowering women.
Bad bitches?
Yeah. Yeah, well, they had started off in real estate. We did talk about real estate to some level because we were all agents.
Yeah, yeah.
But it really was just empowering women. We had a lot of women business owners on, and we just really wanted to give women a voice, you know,
Sure.
and talk about women topics. And then we kind of started veering away from that. Like we had Will Flanagan on when he opened Cosmopolitan. I love Will.
Yeah, me too. He's running again.
Yeah, is he?
He's
Did
running
he really
again.
make the decision?
Yeah, he's running.
Oh,
He's
good
going to
for
run.
him.
Again.
Good.
I mean, he officially, but he's like, well, if I consider, and he's reaching out to everybody.
He's
so
great.
Yeah,
great
he'll be running
person.
again.
I really enjoyed having
I think
him on.
purple trash bags when I think. But we won't talk about purple
Well,
trash bags.
no
I'm
purple
trying to get him on the
trash
show.
bags.
I'm going to get him on the show. I
Well,
will get
on the show.
Yeah, he needs to get on the show. He needs to get on the show.
But yeah, no. So we started veering away from just women
Yeah.
and just supporting local businesses.
Gotcha.
Just to give them a voice, because
Yep.
obviously during COVID, a lot of businesses suffered, you know.
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
guess I never really realized how much kind of like my drives were giving back, like like my motivation.
Those connections.
Yeah.
You were making all those people coming together because
Even though it was self-serving in some sense, because
call
I
it what
enjoyed
you
it.
call it what you want.
You
Call it
know?
what you want. But
Yeah.
those are those connections, and that's
Yeah.
I'm reading you. I'm like listening to what you're saying. I'm saying, wow. This is the message of the show. Support your community.
Yeah.
I had Aaron Bernardo on episode 79 sitting in that chair, and there's a 30-year-old entrepreneur who's shaping lives every day. Like he has, 60 to 70, 80 kids in his building every day, and he's teaching these kids the fundamentals of life. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line.
Which
They're learning,
school lacks.
They'll learn how to fight. They'll learn how to have respect for each other. There's so many things that are happening there. And I say to myself, that's the connection, right? That's why you're here. That's why you're sitting here, because of those connections. You're supporting your community, man. You're making this place better for all of us, and I see that in you as well. Not everybody wants to get up and give back. Most people get up and want to feed, right? Like vampires, we feed, right? So we get up, and I hate to even say this on the show because I don't want to put us in that space, but there are two types of people in this world. There are givers and there are takers.
Yeah.
And it really depends on where you are and how you control and manage what people take from you,
Right.
And I think, it's important to have a little bit of both. You got to have some people that give a little bit more, and obviously some people tend to take more. But I think if you can find the balance in your life, I hear all the things in your life. I say to myself, well, you had to make time for your grandson. You had to make time for your child. You have to make time for your relationships. Like, that's so important. But we get so far from that where, I'm here, like I'm in the studio. I have a full-time job. And when I'm not doing my full-time job, I am here. I am, like you said, content creating, reaching out to people, and just, solidifying relationships with people that I know can help other people. It's this absolute connection all the time. And that's why you're here. Like I'm almost like starstruck because we've been through a lot together, and even though it's just a short little bit of time, that was a big part of my life.
Yeah,
it really is a big part of my life, and I know
You guys were great. Let me tell you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you guys were great.
Well, I think sometimes you just got to be adults about things. You know what I mean? And you got to work through those. And in all fairness, if I had been in any other way, we probably wouldn't be having a conversation right now. You know what I mean? Like if I was irrational, if I was irresponsible, if I was just what you would have expected for that situation. I kept telling myself, you're greater than this, and you have an example. Like my kids are watching me, and how I turn out here is going to be their example. And I refuse to let myself go there. And I said to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this around. The day I sat there, and I'll say it out loud, I'll admit it. The day I sat there with a gun in my mouth, and I was like 2 seconds away from making a decision that I wouldn't change.
Oh, wow.
But it was so important for that to happen. It was, I can't even tell you, because that made all this real. The reason why I'm here, the reason why I actually committed to do it. Like, I got a lot of money in here, and one day I just decided to do this. No, it was about thinking and saying to myself, how can I give back to my community?
Yeah.
And what's the best way that I can find that I can do that?
I didn't know that. Is that true? Oh, wow. Yeah,
This
I didn't
purpose.
know. It's funny. I'm going through some things, and I think it's just like I said, like my son's moved out.
Yep.
He has been moved out, but it's like everything.
It's
like slowly catching up to me, and I think my dog's recent passing. I'm like, well, she died a year ago, but
that's still.
I think I'm like adjusting,
it's your
and
companion.
now it's like
That's your companion.
Yeah, right. Especially
absolutely.
during COVID.
I lost my shepherd 15 years.
Yeah.
Like she was the best companion I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean? So.
And thank God for my boyfriend, because I tell you, I probably would be going off the deep end. But you kind of I feel like you're always readjusting yourself.
You have to
through life.
Yes.
Like you're like reinventing yourself,
right. Right.
And I think that's why I do so many things, because I'm like, my purpose is to do anything that I want to do, really. Right. I don't have to stick to one thing,
Right.
Like somebody was like, oh, are you going to now just do personal training? No, I'm not leaving anything.
Yeah, right. This is in addition to, right.
And if I leave something else behind, I do. Like I'm figuring it out, you know? You don't have to have it all figured out.
Well, you don't drive a ship, right? You navigate it.
Yeah.
Right? You steer it through whatever it is you're going through in your life. So anybody who's like, I can, you're not. There's no straight lines in the ocean.
Right.
There are none. And you can, you're on the water a lot. I see you on the water a lot. You're all over the place. And I think
you never know where one thing will take you to the next. Like I never thought that doing a blood drive would take me to doing a pageant, to selling the church. Like those weren't my goals.
Right.
It just
what great
so
achievements,
happened.
though, Renee. There's such great achievements.
Yeah,
And it's
kinda
sometimes
crazy.
I know I'm humbled. Like I struggle with with getting, but I want you to know that these things matter. Like you're making a difference. You know what I mean?
Good.
And and no matter what we go through in life, like these challenges that we go through in life, I think I always say it all the time. Struggle. Without struggle, there's no success.
Yeah.
You need to be at that absolute bottom to realize, hey, this is where I'm going. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to be just another sad story.
Right.
I want to be a success story. I want to surround myself with great energy and great people that are motivated and want to move forward and make a difference and not just be like, okay, it's just another day.
Right.
Like refuse that at all costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So back to, I just want to kind of bring this all over the place.
Covered everything.
Really. I know, we really have. I want to get back to the podcast real quick. So,
sure.
Do you see yourself going back to podcasting? Is that something that you have a passion for, or are you kind of like, well, not really in my life right now?
Honestly, I really loved it, and when I had mine, I was doing others, so I really enjoyed it. So if there's some way I could do it and not have to worry about the studio, the content, I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future, but it's not ever off the books because I do enjoy it.
Well,
I'm having a blast.
I'm going to throw it out there right now. If you and the girls want a place, I have this. That's my 4-seater spot right there. So I have a whole ready to go. You guys if you guys want to come in, record an episode, I'd be more than happy to host you here.
Cool,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's no charge. I'm not charging $1,000. I'm not charging anything. I would just love to have you here, even if it was just one episode and you guys wanted to do like a reunion kind of thing. I would absolutely be up to that.
I'll speak on the charge, though. We have sponsors. So,
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
we
So it makes
sponsors.
it easier. Yeah.
We actually, so we got a little support. So.
Nice. Well, okay, again, we don't want to, we don't want to say it was not for nothing, but but it would be really cool to have that, come back, because I listened to your episodes and it was funny. You guys had that banter, and it was really cool that you guys would talk about some serious topics. You would have some serious topics in there, and it was always the banter. And I would tell this to the guys. If you really want to understand women, you got to listen to women, right? Like, so if you're not paying attention, you're not listening to the conversations that are taking place. Like, funny, this comes to mind. I was watching an episode. And you had just gone on a date. You had just gone on a date, and you were telling the story about this date. And I'm not ousting anybody. I won't say any names because you didn't say any names. But you mentioned that at the point you were having a great night, and at some point in the night, this guy smacked you in the ass. And it completely changed the vibe of the date. And I found myself, wow, that was, I said to myself, you know what? If I ever have the opportunity to ask her about that, I'm going to. Because, and I'm only going to, this is why I'm saying this. So I am a touchy-feely guy. And I only say this, like, if we're having fun, I'm a hugger. Like, I hug everybody.
Yeah.
Like, and I said to myself, if you and I were out having a really great time and the vibe, don't get me wrong, if
Bobby,
the vibe,
you smack a girl's ass.
if the vibe wasn't there, it wouldn't happen. But if we were having a really fun night and you feel the vibe and everything is going great, I think there's an appropriate way and an inappropriate way to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're doing it, it's, I think in a tap kind of, you know what, if you're walking up the stairs and I'm kind of like behind you and I just kind of tap you because we're having such a great time of acknowledgement, do you think that that's inappropriate, or is it all about vibe? So that's the question here. The question is, is it the vibe? If you and I are really, really getting along, we're having a really good night, and you've already made up in your mind that you're going to see me again, is it inappropriate?
Absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this happened to me twice. And mind you, both guys I'm cool with.
Sure.
They, I don't know if they would watch the show. I don't know. But yeah, I'm cool with both of them. Like, no hard feelings. But yeah, I mean, both of them were on first night dates. And it wasn't just like a little, it was like, I was like,
that's again. Now that was
like,
right.
whoa.
That's the question. It takes you a little off guard.
Yeah,
yes.
and I was
like, now I'm talking like a tap,
don't
like
ever
an
do that again.
acknowledgement.
Mind you, like when I tell people that story, they're like, "I'm surprised a guy had balls to smack your ass," because they know how I am.
Yeah.
And I mean, both never got a second date.
So was it? Did you feel like you didn't have a vibe all night, or did you think, hey, you know what? If they didn't do this, I would have seen them again?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. They probably weren't a right fit from the get-go, but who knows? Like, that definitely set the tone of like, all right, this isn't for me kind of thing, You do kind of, when you're going on a first date, know.
Yeah, of course.
If you see something going further than that date.
Yes.
But sometimes maybe you need a second or a third just to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really. I don't know. I really can't speak on that just because I think that just changed my mind about everything. Then I was like looking back at the whole night and was like,
that's what I'm saying. So like something like that, a move like that can really ruin the night. And I only bring this up because this is funny. I'm going to be 50 at the end of the month.
You look great,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So
Thank
you
you.
celebrating the whole month?
Pretty much,
You
yeah.
know how that
This is
goes.
Birthday month. I'm thinking of getting on a plane and getting out of here.
Yes.
Yeah, but being this age, relationships are very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, I know who I am. Like, you're not going to change me, right?
Yeah.
And I say this not disrespectfully, but I
Yeah.
just say this at this point in my life. I think I have cultivated Bobby Kudo. Like, I've
Right.
chiseled them out, and this is who I am. So,
Same.
so the remainder of my years, this is who I'm going to be. And in the realm of relationships and meeting people your own age in this realm, I find it almost daunting because I don't know that women are looking for younger men. And I say this not in the body form, but in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Because a man who is older tends to think of things differently. I'm methodical. If I'm going to date you, if we're going to go out and we're going to have a bite to eat, I'm thinking about that. I want it to be a great night. I'm going through all the steps. Like, I'm doing those things. As a younger person, they might not do that. They may not care. So my point in saying all this is that, do women get to a point where they become out of reach? And I only say out of reach not because men can't or are not good looking enough or successful enough to meet you, but they become psychologically out of reach. In other words, if you make yourself that perfect, then I'm not even going to try, because I'm not interested in that. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody to make mistakes with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm looking for somebody that's going to laugh at my mistakes and not look at me like, oh, wow, did you just say that? Or, hey, did you just do that? Or, hey, did you just wear that? Like, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the person who's going to, almost encourage me to be more of who I am. You know what I mean? And I find that in this age and in the women that are in this realm, I'm not interested. And does that sound crazy? Does that
What do you
sound?
mean, women your age?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And only in the sense because that, to me, it's outside of what I'm willing to give someone. Like, I love me and I love me and I want to share me with someone, but what you're asking for is going to take too much of me. I can't do the things that I love and continue to do the things that I want to be passionate about if you're expecting this much from me. Does that? I think if you're married, we evolve into the relationship. Right? I give a little bit, you give a little bit. We've been together, 20 years. Like, when you're 20 years with someone married, you guys are a fit. Like, there's a half and half, make a whole.
Yeah.
But when you're not, when you're like you and I, for example, you're full of your success. Your life is your success. My life is my success. Now I have to find someone who's going to accommodate that, right? And not say, oh, you're going to edit again? Oh, you're going to.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's the world that I'm living in right now, that I'm not sure that I want to sacrifice all the things I've worked so very hard for a relationship. And quite frankly, a relationship that might not serve me in the end. You know what I mean? When you commit over 20 years to anything and it doesn't turn out the way you do, you look at things a little differently.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? Like, to speak on your, age difference gap, I'm dating somebody that's 10 years older than me. I always found older men to be more, I just had more in common. I was a little older for my age. I think maybe just having a child at 19, you know?
Yeah, of course you mature.
So,
course.
So guys my age or even younger, I never really, it was tough for me. I always looked at them as immature.
Right, because they're smacking you in the ass when they shouldn't. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about.
Older than me, but
Yeah, but immature. It's not the age; it's the immaturity.
yeah.
They're not adults.
Yeah.
You know.
And so I just think that what you're saying, I think you have to find somebody that's gonna compliment you. You can't find somebody that's total opposite and is trying to pull you this way, but you're going this way. You know, you just have to find someone that's going to complement your life and is going to be accepting of your life.
Because that's misinterpreted, right?
Sure.
If I'm not dropping what I'm doing for you, you're like, I'm not the most important thing in his life.
Right.
You see, and that's the conflict. And I say to myself, look, if you would have told me 10 years ago, this is where I was going to be, I'd be like, you're out of your freaking mind. But this is where I'm at. This is where I live. So I find peace in singularity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the company of a woman. Like, there's nothing more greater than that. But I'm also very happy and satisfied with being by myself.
Bobby,
you know what I mean?
Bobby, I was single for 10 years. I mean, I dated.
Yeah, right.
But I was single, didn't have a boyfriend or nothing. So I get it. Sometimes you just need, and I actually recommend that for everyone, especially if you have a breakup that long term and you're older, especially if you're older. Younger, sure. But especially if you're older, take that time. You really should. not saying people should get a divorce.
No, right. But it's instinct, right?
Yeah.
Like people get divorced or separated. They're like, oh my God.
I need somebody else.
Somebody save me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that too. But thankfully, you grow out of that. You know what I mean? And in all fairness, and this is just in respect to people that have been in my past, wonderful, amazing people. And no disrespect to them, but it's like, I'm sorry that didn't work out. But I didn't know who I was. I was a weak, broken person who didn't have any direction, and I'm like sitting there floating around going, is anybody around? Could somebody help me out here?
Right.
And that's what I felt like. And then going through that, you realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm not doing this person any justice. Like, I'm broken inside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm realizing that I don't have what it takes to support the emotions of another human being right now.
Yeah.
And, and then, of course, you have children. I have a granddaughter, my kids. Like, they require a lot of my emotion and my attention. And so am I going to not just give this away to someone? Or do I find balance, and then maybe one day, I do meet that amazing person, right?
I think it's important to find yourself. Be comfortable with being alone.
Yep.
A lot of people are uncomfortable being alone. They feel lost. They need somebody. You don't need anyone. You want a person in your life. You know, you want somebody that's going to
Yeah, but Rene, who told you that?
No, I had to teach myself.
There it is.
I had to
the
teach
struggle
myself.
was there, right? You're 19
my
years
parents
old.
Are still married.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
And they taught me a great my parents. I want what they had,
you know? Yep.
But, and I think I might have found it, so we'll see. But anyways, you do have to, and when you, because you start to love yourself more, and you start to value yourself more, and then you become picky. Very picky.
Yes.
And that's okay, though.
Yep.
It's okay, because why settle? You get one life, live it.
Right. But that's hard, though. When you spend a life of giving, like when you're raising young children, all you do is give.
Yeah.
And then and all of a sudden something changes, and you're like, oh, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Like me? Is it me now? This is me time? I actually did an episode about it named Trapped by Your Own Freedom. Having the ability to do anything, go anywhere, and you're just standing there panic. You know what I mean? Like a deer in the headlights. It's the most crazy, daunting emotion I've ever felt in my life. And it was at that point that I realized, well, dude, you got to do something.
Well, that's how I feel. Because now, even with just my dog, I had to get home, let her, you know what it's like.
Yes, of course.
Having nothing that needs me. That's the biggest challenge I'm having right now.
That
Nothing
empty nest,
needs me.
empty nest feeling.
Yeah.
They need
I
you.
had it for a little bit with my son, for sure. When he moved out, you know, but I always still had a responsibility, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I've
No, I
had
know exactly what you mean.
responsibility since 19 years old.
Yep.
So my dog, even though she was easy, she was the best dog, it still was a responsibility that I had to get home to. I had to feed. I had to, make sure they had their shots and whatnot.
Yep.
So I just feel like now I'm like, whoa, where does my energy go? Like, I can do anything I want, like you said, and now I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe get another puppy.
No.
Oh,
No.
maybe. Anybody who's listening.
No, me and my boyfriend talk about it, but we would wait some
What would you get
time.
if you got another dog? What would you get?
Do you know? So one of my very good friends, Ashley, has a mini golden doodle. We babysat that dog. Literally perfect size, perfect temperament. Trained.
They don't shed, right? Because it has curly. Is it curly?
Yeah, it's like hypoallergenic. I
Yeah,
think.
right.
I might be wrong, but
No, I think you're right.
they don't shed. And I know my boyfriend's allergic. Like he's allergic to cats. So whatever hair.
I hear they're smart too.
Very smart.
I hear they're smart.
Just so docile and just a treat to be around.
Yeah. I had a shepherd, German shepherd, Sadie, rest her soul.
Oh.
But I was very cautious with her. You know what I mean? She was very good with me, but she was not very cautious with many people. And I lived in the woods. Like we weren't around people very often.
Yeah, you were set
she was
back
very disciplined, but I would always worry like around people. And so people say those dogs, those doodles, that have a very like family temperament because of the lab in them. They're almost like a family dog, but they're calmer than a Labrador. Retriever.
And not as big.
Not as big.
Not as big. Yeah.
Fun size.
I like the size. My pug, she was so tiny.
Yeah.
She was like the skinniest pug ever. So it's like it's like your dog matches who you are.
It's true. It's so true. It's so true.
But anyways, I just like the size and the temperament. Yeah, it was just.
So summer's coming around the corner.
Yeah.
What's happening in your life this summer? What do you got planned?
Oh my boyfriend's got a boat, so we're gonna put that boat out.
Is that the one you
we
guys?
literally talk about it every day. We can't wait.
Yeah, and then like any vacations planned? Are you were in Paris?
Oh, I went to Paris a couple years ago.
That was a couple years ago.
Yeah, we're going on a cruise in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carnival or
No, Royal Caribbean.
Royal Caribbean.
I'm going with my
That was my next
family.
guess.
Yeah. So that'll be fun with my brother, my sister, my parents.
Oh, everybody's going.
Oh yeah, my whole family.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
We haven't had a family trip.
I was going to say,
when
have you guys done this before?
Never.
Wow.
I mean, since we were kids.
Yeah, right.
Obviously,
right,
but not a
right.
cruise. I don't think we ever did a cruise.
So, real estate? Are you still
Yeah, I'm
working
still
hard in real
active.
estate?
I don't want to say a step back because I don't want people to think that I don't enjoy doing it or I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
I had to find some balance in my life and I had to like calm down from everything, you know. But
Right.
yeah, no, I have clients right now. I'm getting back into it.
Yep.
And yeah,
So real quick, walking
and I
us out
really
here.
enjoy it. It's
Yeah, yeah.
just it was so much going on in my life at that moment, and
Yep.
like I said, I work it for a long home, and I had gotten 2 promotions in less than a year. So I was like,
Well, you got to
it's like,
commit your
where's my
attention.
focus
Yeah,
gonna go?
you
You
commit your
have to,
attention. Absolutely.
and you know what? It's okay. It's
Yep.
okay if you take a break from something and come back. It's
Yeah.
okay if you focus on one thing and something has to take the back burner for a minute, and then
Yeah.
you get back into it.
Yeah.
I always struggle with that. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose this. I'm gonna lose that, and I drive
Same
myself
thing
crazy.
here. I didn't
Yeah.
record for a long time. I even reached out. Remember, I was like, "Oh, we're record," and then things fell through. I had a studio lined up that didn't work, and then finally this came
See?
to
Yeah.
fruition. But
Yeah.
there was a long time that I'm like, "Wow, maybe I'm never going to do this again." Like, is this the end? Like, is it no
No.
more? But here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, you have
You-
like little back burner
I
things,
know, right?
you know?
Seriously. So, if you were, if some advice before we walk us out of here,
Yeah, sure.
if young people were looking, is there stock? Is there inventory right now out there? Is the market?
yeah, there's
Because I know there's a shift
inventory.
happening, right? So the Feds lowered a little bit of the rates, and so people were buying a little bit more. But I see a lot more foreclosures now. Is that fair to say that?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Honestly, the market's always tough. It's going to be a buyer's market. It's going to be a seller's market.
Yeah.
Interest rates are going to be low. So then buyers are out there and everyone's competing for the same houses.
What should people stay away from? Like if you're a first-time home buyer, what are some? Because I remember 2008.
Yep.
The market, the
Yeah.
bubble.
When I bought.
I had friends that were doing 80/20s.
Yeah.
And if people who don't know what an 80/20 is, if one individual
Interest only, right?
doesn't
Yeah.
have the credit,
I don't even think they do those anymore.
I hope not,
Yeah.
because it was the most terrible thing they could have ever
Yeah.
done. And so they would give an 80% loan to one person, a 20% to the same person, or to their partner, or whatever it was, and they were paying way too much money for these houses. It was
Yeah.
people with 13% mortgage rates. Remember Coldwell Bankers? They were doing that 13%.
Wow.
How do
Yeah.
you buy a house at 13%?
You can't.
But people don't know. Like if you're going to give somebody money who doesn't know, they didn't teach anybody in high school how to manage a checkbook.
No.
right? How
well,
many-
that's what I was trying to say. You
Right.
know, in school, you don't. What do you learn?
Right.
What do you
right,
learn? Algebra
right,
that you're
right.
never going to use.
Absolutely. Exactly. And if you're not fortunate enough to have a real estate agent like yourself who knows the market,
Yeah.
who can navigate people through this, I find people go online. Everybody wants to do a Zillow. They want to go online.
Zillow lies.
Right. So right. Absolutely. So would you always recommend like contact an agent?
Oh, absolutely.
Get pre-approved, like all those things that happen. And if you can't get pre-approved, you probably shouldn't be talking to an agent.
First off, you need to be pre-approved before you look at any house. You need to know where you're at and what you can afford and where you're comfortable. And you need to know your payments. That's where you're going to know your price range, you know? And you can't just be playing around. You're going to be wasting your time looking at houses and have these set in your mind, these certain houses, how they look, and never going to be able to buy them if it's not in your range, you know? So absolutely, and an agent can help guide you with that, get you a lender for sure. You need support, and it's out there. Why not utilize it? You know,
Right.
You're not. The lender makes it on the back end. Same thing with the agent. It's not like they're paying outright. You know.
Yeah.
So
Would you say it's fair to say people's experiences in purchasing a home really is contingent upon who their agent is? Because I experienced that.
for
I had
sure.
that experience. So for me, I knew both ends. And say,
Sure.
you know, when you came in, it was like a completely different experience. I mean, I think
Yeah.
before that we were probably like 90 days, a little bit more than 90 days, and then you came in within 30 days. We had sold the house, and it was like minimal contingencies. It was just gone. It was quick.
I think it's important to, like, I had done marketing. I had ran a marketing company, so I knew a little bit about marketing, how to market myself. I had a podcast, and I was doing a lot of things. I was networking a lot.
Yeah.
It's funny. Somebody had said to me, "Why are you hanging out with other agents?" because I was going to a lot of networking events. I'm like, are you kidding me? These are my coworkers. I'm going to have to do business with them one day. I'm going to, I want them to feel comfortable with me. I want to feel comfortable with them. I want to get to know these people that I might work with one day,
Those are the bridges. You got to build those bridges.
Yeah.
Those are the bridges.
So
those
it's funny, like little things that people would question on what I did, and at the end of the day, it all makes sense. It makes sense to me,
So what's Renee want to do with the rest of her life?
Oh my goodness!
When you're done, I know everything, but if you had to say like that one, when the sun is setting and you're on a chair on the beach, what does your life look like? What is the goal? What is the dream?
Oh gosh!
I know that's a broad, a wicked broad question, but like for me, I motivate myself with those thoughts. Those are the thoughts that move me.
Well, me and my boyfriend talk about it a lot. We want to buy a property like Airbnbs,
Yeah.
We're looking down. Well, we're going to be looking down in Florida. So we were thinking like having a lifestyle where we can maybe have a business. We don't know yet. We're figuring it out.
And what does he do?
He's a contractor.
Okay.
Like a subcontractor.
Great.
So he does his own little thing. He can do anything really,
Sure.
So he kind of makes, in a sense, not his own schedule, but has a flexible schedule.
Yeah, he controls it.
Yeah. So with me, finding that, I'm at work every day. I love what I do, but maybe in the future, finding something that has a little more flexibility as well.
Yeah.
And that probably is real estate. Real estate is.
You do some real estate, do a little flipping here and there, right? You're buying it, he's flipping it.
We talk about flipping.
Why
too.
not?
Yeah,
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, we're just like it's a funny market right now. We're trying to figure out what we're paying.
That's
very
my
close
my cousin
attention.
Nancy, Side by Side Realty. Her and her husband got together and they started that, and they're so successful. It's sometimes you look at those things, you're like, wow, relationship, but they're so successful. And I think if you find your person, you do that when you're 18, you're like, that's never going to work. But when you get to a certain age and you have found your plateau and you find that person to take that journey with you, you're like, let's do this.
He's just as obsessed. He looks more than I do.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, look.
That's awesome.
So he like pushes me a little bit. I'm like, but I see something like that in my future, probably focusing real estate, hopefully personal training. I would really like to, I would love to help people like get into their shape. Because you know what? You can do it.
Like transformation, transformation.
That would excite me. Oh my gosh.
There's so many elements to that. There's a social media element to that, like all of it.
Yeah.
So we talking your own gym or you...
I don't know. He even says that. He's like, maybe you can open your own gym.
That's what I'm saying. Like
He's such a good,
I got your vibe.
Good motivator and supporter.
That's awesome, and that's what you need.
Yeah,
that's what success is.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I've learned through life that you just never know where it's going to take you. Just take it day by day. You can plan, and you should, but who knows? I might walk into something tomorrow. I just never know.
Right.
Because that's how my life is.
That's such a beautiful existence, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
Renee, thank you so much for coming in today.
For
I'm so grateful, and like this is just a moment for me. Like I told you earlier, I probably didn't say it on the show, and I will. We experienced that a couple of years ago, and there's always been that connection. I said to myself, man, I hope and pray that if I can get this back up and running, that Renee will sit in that chair, and I'm hoping that this isn't the last time.
No,
we can do this again, and maybe EntrepreneurHer can maybe come in, do it. Like I'm throwing it out there. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. The message was great, and I think there's definitely a need out there for strong, successful women to have a voice. We went through the Me Too movement, and then that shit just went away. Like nobody's talking about it anymore. And we might be in a great place as a society, but I think we've focused our energy in other places. And I think if we all come together and realize our roles, we can make it a great place to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just talking about this today. Like I was like, oh, this guy's posting pictures of like his muscles. He looks great and good for him. And people are like, oh, you look so good. And if a girl does it, she's doing it for attention.
There you go. There you go.
I'm like, can we just get rid of this?
Yeah. Well, play both sides. You know what I mean? And really understand, like, let people be who they are. Yeah. Let people be who they are. And you obviously, at the end of the day, it's your consequences. You have to live with that. So I don't judge people. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure this out myself. You know what I mean?
Same.
Right? I keep talking to successful people.
I'm so well put together. Trust me, I'm not.
Right, same thing. Like I'm listening to people like I'm trying to get the code. You know what I mean? Like we talk and I'm like, what is she doing? You know what I mean? And where's her success come from? And that's what motivates me. You know what I mean? So again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, please one more time. How do they get in touch with you?
Oh, my social media, Facebook, Rene Dionne, or you can call me 774-406-8922.
Awesome.
if it's real estate needs, personal training needs, or just need a good conversation.
Perfect. Give her a call. I can vouch for that. She's an amazing conversation. Thanks again, Renee. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Joe, thanks for being here, buddy. I appreciate you. All right, folks. Appreciate you being here. Remember, look at the show, www.thebobbycudoshow.com. Support the show at Patreon. Also, if you want to reach out to the show, be a guest, thebobbycudoshow@gmail.com. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. And remember, always remember that all roads lead here.
Perfect.